Hi everyone. I'm William Smith, a Partner Program Manager here at Jamf, and I'm here to introduce our next presentation. Before I do that, I'd like to call out that this session has a little something for everyone. It's about a cool new tool that Mac administrators across organizations will find useful when supporting end users. It's also about what it takes to develop a tool like this, so it has some great new Swift development ideas. And the app itself supports a feature in Jamf Pro called Manifests, which makes it easy for both new and seasoned Jamf Pro administrators to configure settings. You'll get to see a demo about how to use a Jamf manifest, and if you find that interesting, I want to call out another JNUC session on Thursday called Simplifying Application Management Using Custom Schemas in Jamf Pro. It's session number 1147. With that, I'm very pleased to introduce Jordy with Route 3, who'll be talking about Support App.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks for the introduction. Appreciate it. Welcome to the session about Support App, quick access to IT and resources easily integrated with Jamf. My name is Jordy Witteman, and I work at Route 3 in the Netherlands as an Apple business consultant, where my daily job is managing Apple devices at scale. In my spare time, I started developing the Support App using SwiftUI to improve our customers' experience. Route 3 is a managed service provider for companies working with Apple products. We're located in the Netherlands and manage Jamf Pro environments for customers both domestic and abroad. For this session, I've set a couple of goals. First, I'll tell you about the Support App, what it is, how it was developed, and the choices we made. Second, we'll look into the integration with Jamf Pro and how easy it is to configure the Support App for everyone. Third, I'll show you a demo of the Support App configuration in Jamf Pro and how to take advantage of most features. Last topic is to show you some SwiftUI basics so you can hopefully start building something and contribute to the community. Let's talk about the Support App. What it is? Well, it's a menu bar app. It sits in a menu bar in the top right corner, and it's designed to be an assistant for both the end user and IT. By showing some basic diagnostics about the Mac and its health, users and IT are able to identify and fix issues more easily. It also offers a couple of buttons. Use an administrator can configure and point to company resources such as apps and URLs. This is done by specifying a couple of properties for every button, like a title, link to the resource, and a matching symbol from the SF Symbols library from Apple. The app can be fully branded with the organization's identity by setting a custom menu bar icon, logo in the app, and company colors, while maintaining the native look and feel of macOS Big Sur. Let's take a closer look at the application. You can spot the app in the menu bar by its Live Preserver symbol with the red notification badge. By clicking on the symbol, the app is shown using a macOS popover. It should look very familiar in the macOS Big Sur with its translucent background, buttons, and shadows. The symbols on the buttons also look at home and match Control Center. Before we dive deeper into Support App, I'd like to share the story about how the app was developed and where the idea came from. At Route 3, we've been using a similar basic application since 2013 and distributed it to our customers. It had basic information about the Mac and hard-coded links to our support channels like TeamViewer Quick Support and Jamf Self-Service. It was written in Objective-C and was only maintained with some minor tweaks for macOS compatibility. Last year, we were inspired with the new looks of macOS Big Sur and Apple's new user interface framework called SwiftUI, and dreamed of redesigning the app from scratch. Also, our customers wanted to customize our existing apps and integrate features found in Nomad, Enterprise Connect, and Jamf Connect, such as linking to company resources. So without ever having written a complete application, we gave it a shot and started developing with Apple's new SwiftUI framework exclusively in Swift. By following a couple of tutorials on menu bar apps in SwiftUI, I was able to design a concept during one lonely night in June 2020. It proved we could potentially rewrite it, and it gave a lot of confidence to achieve our undefined goals at that point. During the process, we weren't even thinking about making it generic. It was still focused on our own customers. But then we thought, can we perhaps make it customizable and let our customers put in their own logo and buttons using a mobile device management solution? And finally, wouldn't it be great to share the app with the community so everyone can take advantage of it? And boom, there it was. On November 12 last year, we launched version 2.0 of our support app without any expectations. Version 2.1 and 2.2 were released in January and June this year, and were packed with new proactive features to support our users even better. And of course, thanks to SwiftUI, there's also native dark mode support. That's enough about the history. Let's take a look into the technologies and design tools we used in the support app. As said before, the visual part of the app is all SwiftUI. SwiftUI proved to be an easy entry-level framework for basic development and have user interface components ready in a lot less time compared to UIKit and AppKit. We feel Apple is putting a lot of effort into SwiftUI and be eventually the primary design language on all Apple platforms. We exclusively use Apple's SF Symbols for the buttons in the app. SF Symbols is a library of more than 2,500 native symbols built into Apple platforms and allows us to maintain the native look and feel while still being able to customize the app with a purpose-matching symbol. There's a symbol available for almost every use case. We decided to go with the macOS accent color for the app buttons and symbols, as it dynamically changes with the user's preference. This is the default setting, but custom color is also possible. However, some organizations' color is too bright and dark, and you might want to stick with the macOS accent color. Because Apple SF Symbols was introduced in macOS Big Sur, this is the minimum requirement to use the app. Later, during development, we set a couple of requirements to make the app feel as native as possible, future-proof, and also maintain the maximum set of Apple security features. Of course, MDM integration was a must-have feature. It should be configurable with any MDM solution providing custom configuration profiles. While mainly working with Jamf Pro, a Jamf manifest based on a JSON schema was also a no-brainer and should help the administrator to configure the application more easily. More on this later. We've built the app in Swift using Apple frameworks, which means we could easily build a universal binary natively compatible with Apple Silicon without any extra effort. To maintain security, we ran the app through the notarization service from Apple as a basic malware check to make sure the app can be opened without any security warnings. We implemented another optional but important security feature for macOS called App Sandbox. App Sandbox is the default on iOS, but not on macOS. Because our app isn't open source, we thought this was absolutely necessary to prove our app does nothing weird in the background and keeps everything in its container. And lastly, we decided to run it by app review team at Apple to be able to deploy it using custom apps in Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager. With a few tweaks, we were able to get it successfully through app review. And we plan to let Apple review our app with every future release as a standard quality check. Now it's time to talk about deployment and configuration. We provide the application as a standalone application bundle or as a PKG installer with a launch agent included to start at login and keep it alive. Of course, you can create your own launch agent and bundle it together. To configure the app, you need to push a configuration profile using your MDM solution, which enables you to quickly modify the app with a different configuration within just a couple of minutes. I'm going to show the main settings and features of the app in the next slides. These are the logo, the menu bar icon, color, info items, and shortcuts to an app, URL, or command. Here you see the title in the upper left corner and the logo presented in the top right corner. The logo can be a square or another aspect ratio. Landscape logos also look great, and its aspect ratio is always maintained. The menu bar icon is a live preserver symbol by default, but can be modified with your own custom image. Ideally, this is a square icon, so not all logos are suitable. If this is the case, we provide the option to use an SF symbol, which requires no packaging at all. Another option for the menu bar is status bar icon notifier enabled. When enabled, the menu bar icon will show a small notification badge indicating something's up, such as a software update, a password expiring soon, or when your Mac wasn't restarted in a long time. By default, the apps color will honor the macOS accent color, which you can set in system preferences. The macOS accent color is a good choice to keep as it maintains the native look and feel. You can, however, specify a custom color for both light and dark mode matching the organization's color. It's recommended to only use this when the color is not too bright or too dark, as the icons may become harder to see. The diagnostics, or what we call info items, are the top 4 tiles. By default, you see the computer name, macOS version, last reboot, and storage available. The 4 tiles can be modified and mixed together. Currently, there are 6 types available. The other 2 are password expiry and network. Let's see what that looks like. The Mac password integrates with local password policies and Active Directory password policies. The user can see when the password expires at a glance and change it by clicking on it. Optionally, the menu bar icon can show the notification badge when the password is expiring within a configured amount of days. This proactive behavior is also available for last reboot to help the user restart the Mac frequently to avoid weird issues. The bottom 2 rows are fully configurable as shortcuts to an application, URL, or command. Each of the 2 rows can be configured with 2 or 3 buttons. You can specify a title you see in the button, and optionally a subtitle which is shown when hovering over the button. Then you need to configure the shortcut type, which can be app, URL, or command. And the most important part, the actual thing you'd like to open with the button. When opening an application, you need to set this to the app bundle identifier of the application, and macOS will automatically locate and open it. For URL, you just need the full URL, including the protocol, such as HTTPS. For commands, it will run ZSH by default, and you can put in a command directly or point to a script location. Be aware that the script's location must be accessible by the support app, such as /library/application support, and the command will be executed in a user space, so the use cases are limited. Lastly, a symbol is needed, and we use Apple SF symbols for this. As mentioned before, there are more than 2,500 native symbols available, which you can find in the SF Symbols application from Apple's website. In the configuration profile, we just need the SF Symbols name, and macOS will automatically show the correct symbol. Let's take a look at the SF Symbols application. There are several categories, and there's a search bar. Many symbols have filled or outlined versions available, and we recommend sticking with the same type on each row for consistency. When you've found the symbol you were looking for, just copy the name from the right sidebar and paste it into the configuration profile. As Apple is adding new symbols with every new major release, always check if the symbol you want is available in the minimum macOS version your organization is running. You can see this in the information in the right sidebar as well. Now we're going to look at why Jamf integrates so well with the support app and other custom configuration profiles. A unique Jamf feature is the Jamf manifest. It allows the developer to create a JSON schema and help the administrator to easily configure the application right from the Jamf Pro interface. The administrator no longer has to edit complex XML or plist files. It's created using a JSON schema we provide, and with this feature, it's less likely to make configuration errors. This is an example of the Jamf manifest compatible with Jamf Pro. It defines all the preference keys, its type, such as a string, boolean, or integer, and also what the key is called and its description. You can even provide tooltips and links to an external documentation page. Also, you can provide enums to create a pop-up menu with predefined values, which eliminates potential typing errors. There's no need for you to create this JSON file as the developer of the applications you provided. Some are already built into the Jamf Pro repository, and others are available in the community. We hope more and more developers will provide support for this feature to make it even easier to configure applications. Time for a live demo. Okay, here we are. Let's take a look at the application, what it is by default. Click on the menu bar and we see a couple of info items we mentioned before, such as the computer name, version, and the links. But this is the default. Let's open up Jamf Pro and create a new configuration profile. We're going to call it Support App Demo. Assign a category to it. And now in the sidebar, we're going to scroll down to Application and Custom Settings. Click External Applications and click Add. Now we need to choose a source. And we're going to go with a custom schema. We need to provide the preference domain, which is nl.root3.support. And we need to add the JSON schema. You can either choose to copy and paste, or in this case, we're going to upload the JSON file. Here's our JSON file with all the preference keys present and the description and tooltip information, for example. Okay, let's save it. And now if we scroll down, we see that the interface is completely transformed and all our preference keys are included for easy configuration. We see pop-up menus and text fields, for example. And we can even hover over the tooltip, see the preference key name, or click on the documentation link for more information. Okay, let's start configuring the app. Usually, you want to do something like support or IT support. But in this case, we're going to make it a little bit more personal. And we're going to use a variable from Jamf. In this case, $full name. Okay. Now we need to provide a custom logo. And there's one for both light and dark mode. Be aware that the file location must be accessible from the App Sandbox. So we're going to recommend using application support in the library folder. So here are our logos. We have one for light and one for dark mode. So we're going to copy them. And we're going to copy them to /library application support /Jamf, or another folder you created for your organization. Let's paste them here. Now we need the file path. And by secondary click, and then holding the Option button, we can copy the full path name. Okay, let's copy and paste it into the configuration profile. We're going to do the same for dark mode. Now we need to add the status bar icon. So we can do a custom logo, but in this case, we're going to do a custom status bar icon using an SF symbol, which is easy to configure. So we don't need the first option, and we are able to hide it so it's not sent to the configuration profile. So just click Add Remove Properties and uncheck it with all the preference keys. So now we need an SF symbol name. So how are we going to get that? Open up the SF Symbols application. In this case, we're going to look for a case. And I think, let's go for the briefcase.fill. I think that one is nice. So copy the name. That's all you need to do, and paste it into the configuration profile. Also, we're going to enable the notification badge in the status bar icon to proactively inform the user when there's a software update, the password is expiring soon, or it wasn't restarted in a while. For custom color, we're going to leave this by default and go with the macOS accent color. So we're going to disable it in the configuration profile, along with some other preference keys. Okay. So now we're going to look at the info items. For the upper left info item, the first tile, we're going to choose something different instead of the computer name. So we're going to go with the password option. The other three, we're going to leave them by default. But to make sure we don't get computer name everywhere else, we need to disable them as well. Okay. The maximum uptime in days, we're going to set to 14. So the users get notified when it's not restarted in 14 days. We're going to do the same with the password expiry. We're going to set that to 14 days. Okay. The password item label also needs to be disabled, but can be modified with a custom text, like organization's password, for example. We're going to leave that by default. Let's configure the configurable buttons. The first one, we're going to go with remote support for easy screen sharing. As a subtitle, we're going to choose share your screen when the mouse is hovering over the button. In this case, it's an application, but you can also put in a URL. We're going to change it back to URL application. And we need to provide the bundle identifier, in this case from TeamViewer. So that's com.teamviewer.teamviewer. And we're going to choose an SF symbol as well. What should we do? Something with a cursor. I like that one. Let's copy the name. And again, paste it in the configuration profile. Let's configure the middle button in the first row of configurable items. We're going to go with My Apps from the Microsoft Azure myapplications.microsoft.com. So in this case, it's not an app, it's a URL. And the URL is https myapplications.microsoft.com. Okay, again, I've pasted already an icon for the SF symbol. Let's go straight over to the right button. And here we're going to put self-service, of course. I'm going to give it a subtitle of download apps. It's an application. And its bundle identifier is com.jamfsoftware .selfservice.Mac. We have an SF symbol ready. And let's go over to the second row. I've already done that to speed up the process, and we're going to scope it to my test machine. Okay, let's save and have a look. As you already see in the menu bar, the icon is changed to the briefcase, and you see the little red dot indicating something's up. So the password is expiring soon, giving me a warning, and macOS Big Sur has an update for me ready. And of course, all our buttons are configured. But I want to put another button in between in the second row as well. So let's modify the configuration again. Scroll down, and we need to add these properties again. Because when we send an empty property, it's deleted from the configuration profile. Okay, we're going to put something here that links to a server. So we're going to call it Drive with a subtitle of Connect, and we're going to use a URL to an SMB share. I'm going to look for a Drive icon. Let's choose the outlined version of the Drive. And also modify the other icons to an outlined version instead of the filled version for consistency, like mentioned before. Let's save again. We can now see the changes being applied almost instantly. And there we have our extra button and the new icons ready. We see the title, the icon, and that's the basic configuration. And of course, when we switch over to dark mode, we have our second logo also ready there. Okay, last topic on this session is about SwiftUI. As I mentioned earlier, SwiftUI was the ideal framework to rewrite the support app. Without any experience, it helped us achieve an amazing result, and we're thrilled with all the feedback we got. So what makes SwiftUI so special? Like us, it's an easy-to-learn language and perfect for aspiring developers or even Mac administrators wanting to build a small project. Second, it uses a declarative syntax which is easy to read and understand. Apple's other focus is to let you write as little code as possible to achieve great results in just a few lines of code. Another great feature is its multi-platform support. SwiftUI is available on macOS, iOS, iPadOS, tvOS, and even watchOS. So you can create a single shared code base for multiple platforms. As Apple is deprecating bundled languages such as Python and Ruby, it's better to write tools natively in the Swift language. And lastly, SwiftUI offers views which can be reused across the app and populated based on variables. Many components in the support app are built this way. Here you see some basics of SwiftUI and how views are built. Many views are built using stacks to organize them horizontally, vertically, or on top of another. Let's see some code examples and take it into practice. Here we see an example of a simple book symbol from SF Symbols. For now, we can only have a look at line 14 to 16. In line 14, we create an image object and use system name to get the SF symbol. Now that we have a book, two modifiers are applied. A font to make the icon larger. Second, we apply a blue foreground color. In this example, no stacks are used, but if we want to present some text next to the book, well, then we'd have to use an H tag. By embedding the previous example into an H tag, we can now add a second view object into the H tag, and both objects will now be presented next to each other. Easy, right? We applied the same font size and have a secondary color to the text, which makes it gray here. In our app, we use most symbols in a color-filled ellipse and a white foreground color. Let's see how that code works. We have created an ellipse instead of an image, and we gave it a blue foreground color. The second modifier is an overlay, where we put the image and the white foreground color. I've made it half the size of the original font to fit nicely into the ellipse. The ellipse itself is resized by putting it into a frame of 80 points. This way we already have a similar look as in the support app. But most buttons in the app use a subtitle shown below the title. So how can we achieve this result? This is where a VStack comes in handy. A second text object is created and embedded into a VStack together with the title. Because the VStack itself is embedded into the H tag, the text is still shown next to the symbol. The finishing touch here is to set the alignment of the VStack to leaning to make sure both the title and the subtitle are shown in a natural way. Last slide with some code. For developers and administrators looking for a way to build MDM support, with SwiftUI, we have a lot of smart property wrappers at your disposal. One of them is AppStorage. AppStorage is built on top of user defaults and allows you to read and store preferences into one single line of code. And because it reads preferences, it's also able to interact with MDM and listen for values in configuration profiles. Apple has done a lot of work for us with this property wrapper, and changes into the configuration profile are observed automatically and instantly. Well, that was it about SwiftUI. But before we close this session, there's just one more thing we'd like to announce. This was the #1 request we got from the community, and we're pleased to announce that Support App is now open source. You can now clone or fork the project to adapt it to your organization's needs, or even help us make the Support App better by creating pull requests. We hope it will inspire other Mac administrators to create cool and powerful projects using SwiftUI and improve the user experience. You can get the Support App on our GitHub page, as well as the documentation, JSON schema, and of course now source code. Thank you for listening, and we'd love to get your feedback and hear your questions.